The first one I have up here would be thoughts on the new Buff offensive line. You can go ahead and start it off. What are your thoughts on the new Buffs offensive line with the additions that we have now made?
Well, I think it's natural to compare the incoming group on the offensive line compared to the incoming group that they had coming in on the offensive line last year, in the group that just really never was able to get it together to protect Shedeur Sanders, and ended up being one of the main issues on that football team last season, if not the number one issue. They brought in a lot of guys from the junior college ranks, in some more project type guys, or guys that came in from a Missouri State, and you can find really good players at those programs. But when you're banking on junior college guys coming in, there's going to be a learning curve there. And so conversely, when you look at it this year, these are guys that started at other FBS programs, and you've got guys like a Khalil Benson that has a lot of experience at different positions, playing in the Big Ten. You've got Tyler Johnson coming over from Houston, and I think Justin Mayers might be one of the more underrated guys just in terms of our transfer ratings on 24/7 Sports. I think the fact that he just was kind of under the radar there at UTEP, and is going to be a really good player, has a lot of experience. And so there's not going to be as big a learning curve with these guys coming into Colorado. And you see, I think it was on Well Off Media, where Khalil Benson is really challenging guys in his group already. And I can't imagine there are more than 2 or 3 workouts in at this point. And so the mentality that group has had, and we've heard Coach Prime share that story of how they were out just, getting to know each other during their official visit. And somebody said something rude to Shedeur, and those guys, no hesitation, had his back. And so I think just the overall group, and you're not going to bat 1,000 with all the transfers you bring in. You're just, for some reason, going to misevaluate here and there. But that group coming in with the experience that it has seems like it's got a lot of potential. Whereas last year, you're talking a lot about a lot of guys that didn't have experience starting at the FBS level, and you were maybe questioning a little bit about what that jump was going to be, and it didn't work out. I'm pretty sure that it's going to work out with this group. I don't know what the expectations should be. Should that be, top half of the Pac-12 in terms of offensive line production? I think you take that, even if it's 5th or 6th in the conference, because of where the kind of the bar was set coming out of last year, unfortunately.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You would definitely take that coming out. But I think just on my evaluation of them, what I think about these guys, you hit it right on the head. Coach Prime has brought in now starters on the FBS level, and playing guys who have NFL grades, should I say, who should be possible draft picks or at least get a chance to play in the NFL. And most of them have a 3rd round to the 5th round evaluation on the Mayors. Big Johnson, I like him a lot too at their guard position, coming from Houston. Also Big Khalil Benson from Indiana, Mississippi native. I like all of those guys. They have the size and look like the grit and determination. Shout out to Yakiri Walker, also the center. I like what he said on Well Off Media, which is exactly in line with what I was thinking about him and what I saw on his film, which is his speed. That's his attribute. That's his best attribute, is his speed, his quickness to make those blocks and get to the next level. A lot of people kind of underestimate that, but if you look in the NFL, you'll see centers like that, including Kelsey, who's the center for the Eagles, who I think might be retiring, but he's not a huge type center. He's a guy that came into the league based off of his quickness, and I think that's what Walker is. But he's going to have to compete at that center position with Tyler Brown, who had a whole year to get Monsterous, who was already considered the strongest guy on the team. So if he was being Tyler Brown in the offseason or during this season while redshirting, so to speak, while sitting out, I feel like he has gotten super stronger, a lot stronger. I've been in the film room a lot and gotten a grasp of Shermer's playbook, hopefully. So he can be a leader on that line at center. Like I said, Benson, Mayers, and Johnson, all former starters. The key, I think, will be that left tackle position. Will that be Seaton? Will that be Connor coming back off of an injury, but moving from the right guard spot to the left tackle spot, which he has experience at coming from Florida. So all in all, you have a lot of competition on that line. You can't forget about Savion Washington, who played well the first half of the season, but had an injury the second half. So, I wouldn't judge him off that so much of the first half when he was healthy. And we have some depth there now. If we're looking to add one or two more guys, I can see that happening with so much movement in the transfer portal right now. I still think Coach Prime has some scholarships left in his back pocket. And I think there's still a lot of interest in Colorado coming from these players from the other schools. So we'll see when them pads come on, though, what the real deal is in the spring.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up guys like Tyler Brown and Savion Washington, because I think you kind of forget that Savion Washington, before that ankle injury last year, was playing pretty darn good football, and Tyler Brown was a guy you projected to be a starter a year ago. Even Hank Solinskas is somebody that comes in kind of as an unheralded 3-star guy that was initially committed to Carl Durrell's staff, and he played quite a bit of reps as a true freshman, and so that signals that he's a guy that they're high on for his future development. But yeah, I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Jordan Seaton this spring just to see can he be that guy from day one. And that's a lot to ask. And it seems like if anybody can handle that task because of how big and just really been impressed with his maturity and some of the things that we've seen him say when he was out at the Under Armour Next All-American game. And I think you're going to have a pretty good idea if you're this staff through 15 spring practices. Okay, how close is Jordan Seaton to being ready? And even if he is, you can't have too much depth on the offensive line, especially coming off last year, because you do want to have probably got 10 guys that you could feel comfortable starting if you had to. Whereas last year they didn't even have 5, and so you can't have too many of those big guys join the mix.
Definitely can. So yeah, I'm excited about seeing them. And you mentioned Jordan Seaton. I guess I go back one more time on it. I did say something about David Connor coming off that injury. He has a lot of talent, so I think that kind of eases the pressure. If you're looking at it from a coaching staff point of view, that eases the pressure of wanting to have and making sure Seaton is ready to go and being that guy from day one. I think you can say we have a guy who's still young also, who should be a year advanced. Even though he had that pec injury, I still think he should be a little bit more advanced than Jordan Seaton. If he's been putting in that work to recover and he knows what to do, I think he can be that guy to where you'll say, okay, if the competition is very close, you'll say, I'm going to go with the older guy, and it's going to be his spot to lose going into the spring and into the season. But we'll see what happens.